What's going on, guys? It is Aiden Hutchinson.
What's up, man? It's your boy Amon-Ra St. Brown.
What's up, everybody? It's Calvin Johnson Jr. here, a.k.a. Megatron, a.k.a. First Ballot.
Greetings to everyone out there in the YouTube land. I'm Ahmed Hassanin, and I just want to give a shout out to Coach Dan. Thank you for all the support you show the team and the players. Everyone hit the like, subscription button, and yell woo in the comments. Thank you, and go Lions.
Greetings and salutations to everyone out there in YouTube land. This is Dan Skipper, offensive weapon for the Detroit Lions. Make sure you all help support Lions Talk Live, Coach Dan, by clicking on that like and subscribe button. Everybody, woo!
Well, greetings and salutations to everybody out there in YouTube land. I'm your host, once again, Dan Thornton. Hey, I want to thank you all for joining us here today. It's the start of the new week. It is Monday. Lions Talk Live Morning Show Edition, as we're all probably very aware of. NFL Scouting Combine's going to be getting underway here, and we've already got some news and notes about requests put in by the Detroit Lions about players they specifically want to have interviews, things of that sort. You guys all know what the drills are about. Who's the biggest? Who's the fastest? Who's the baddest man on the planet? Every NFL team is spending $10 gajillion billion trillion to find out the answers. Who should we select in the upcoming NFL draft? And yes, we've already got some information coming out about the Detroit Lions and some of the people they are requesting to talk to, look at, etc. And we're going to be paying attention the next, whatever it is, several days to pay attention to this thing, because the NFL Scouting Combine can make you or it can break you. We're going to go into that momentarily during the main top of the day. There's not really going to be 5 headlines now. I want to be fair. I think this is a big enough topic where there's enough importance on the line with each of the draft picks for the Detroit Lions that, you know what, this probably just deserves to be the topic for today. You guys are very aware, if you've been Lions fans for any kind of length of time, if you don't hit on your draft picks, especially the middle and late round picks from time to time, you're not going to have much of a draft. You're not going to have much of a franchise. Lions, I think we can mostly agree, I know not everybody will, they are one of the perhaps more prominent teams in the NFL, and there's a ton of talent on this team. If Brad Holmes, Dan Campbell, the scouting department can hit on, say, 3 to 5 draft picks this year, they come in and make big impacts, this team has got a real shot at the Super Bowl next year. And that doesn't even take into account what they could do in free agency, which, to be honest, is only about 2 weeks away. All right, with all that done, real quick before we get into everything, the meat of the show, if you haven't yet subscribed to Lions Talk Live, please consider doing so. Making that march for 16,200. We're like, I don't know, 9 subs or something like that away from it. If you can help out with that, it'd be great. Also, if you have a half second time, won't cost you anything, go ahead and hit the thumbs up button, the like button, hit all the buttons. We try to get every episode of the show between 200, 300, 400 more thumbs up or likes. Last, never least, if you are considering buying or selling property anywhere in the great state of Michigan, let alone the continental United States, great state of Michigan, by the way, I can personally work for you, with you, etc., then go ahead and give me a call, shoot me a text, throw a carrier pigeon in my direction, whatever works best for you. But if you want to call me or text me, the phone number is now on the screen, 269-998-2384. If you're going to send smoke signals, you're going to have to call me or text me and tell me which direction to look at. Maybe I can ascertain what you're trying to tell me. All right, enough of the jibber jabber and the comedy. Let's get into this thing, because I think, if ever there's an off season that meant a whole lot to the Detroit Lions, this might just be it. So 1, 2, 3, let's get into the main topic of the day. All right, probably not going to be a big surprise with the first one here. It sounds like the Lions are going to be looking at about a few left tackles, or tackles. I shouldn't say left side, right side, or anything. First one on the list here is probably one familiar with most Detroit Lions fans. You've already heard about him, and that's I'll just throw him up here on the screen. And man, does Brad Holmes love himself some Alabama guys. This would make a lot of sense in multiple fashions of reasons. Caden Proctor, he's going to fit a position of need right off the bat. He is expected to be there around pick 17. There are some rumors or suggestions, maybe is a better way to put it. Lions could trade back a little bit here if they choose to go with maybe one of the not 1 or 2 top left tackles in the draft. Maybe if you think number 3 or 4 is something of interest for you, then yes, there are multiple different situations where I think the Lions can move back 2, 3, 4 spots, still get the guy they want, pick up a little extra draft capital. If you haven't seen him play, well, you see the numbers on the screen. 40 time, I'm not going to worry about that too much for a left tackle or a right tackle, although, hey, never hurts. Just look at Penei Sewell when he's out there leading blocks down the field on screen passes or pulls, traps, etc. But Proctor, 6'7", man, just under 370 pounds, and I'll be honest, if he's not closer to 380, I would be shocked. But the fact that he is that size, he does have that kind of range with his wingspan, his arm length, and he's fairly athletic. I'm not going to say he's anything like Penei Sewell athletic, but he is athletic for a man that size. You think about the run blocking alone you'd get out of him. Now, if you feel like he's a competent left tackle, this makes a ton of sense. There are some reports out there saying the Lions would move Penei Sewell over to left tackle if they were to select Kadyn Proctor and then move him to right tackle. And to be honest, if you were asking just for my opinion, which maybe you're not, that's probably what I would do. I just think him on the right side, run blocking, makes a ton of sense. You would have a more athletic left tackle now in Penei Sewell, and I do think that matters. But how much? I'll love to hear your guys' thoughts on the comment section. But if you think that's the only person they've been talking to, well, I got good news for you, Dew Crew. We've got other people. Let me pull it on the screen. Sounds like this person. This would be more of a second or third round pick. But when I heard the reports on it, I was like, man, it makes a lot of sense to me. Let's pull it up. If you're a Big Ten person or a person who likes, I don't know, if you like Michigan State or Michigan or whatever, you probably already know this guy somewhat. And that's Gabe, boy, I always kill his last name. Gabe Kakis from Illinois. And let me go ahead and let me do a little, I thought I had this saved here. Hold on just a second, if you please. All right, let me rephrase this. All right, now let me load this and let me get you some numbers. Sorry, I thought I had this all set. Apparently not, so now I got to do it live on there. Hey, what do you know? Sometimes I get things right. All right, so the Illinois product, Big Gabe's in the house. He's not as tall as many of the prospects the Lions typically have gone for their other and the big end opposite Hutch. But he is going to be 260, 265 pounds, 6'3". Normally, if you pay attention, a lot of Lions ends opposite Hutch, they do tend to be closer to 6'5", even 6'7", sort of like Hutch. So would he be less ideal just from a physicality standpoint? Sure. But the opposite side of it is this guy does get after the quarterback, led the Big Ten in sacks. He gets pressure in the backfield on running backs. He's a nice piece. And in the second or third round, I think this makes a lot of sense, especially if you get him in the third round. He's going to try to do everything he can, like all prospects going forward here in the combine, to try to raise his draft capital stocks, his opinion from the scouts and the GMs in attendance watching, even some coaches. You guys, if you don't know, you can watch this stuff on TV if you have access to NFL Network, stuff like that. If you got time to sit and watch and try to do what everybody else in the professional ranks are doing, this is what you can do the next several days. You can watch this stuff unfold before your very eyes, but this is probably somebody of interest, or I should say it is somebody of interest for the Detroit Lions. You know, Lions have long talked about, trying to find somebody opposite Hutch, and one of Sports Illustrated draft analysts, Justin Mello, explains why Jackets makes a ton of sense for the Detroit Lions. Quote, Detroit Lions have needed a running mate to Aiden Hutchinson. Illinois' Gabe makes the most out of his post scores in what he's anticipating getting into the NFL scouting combine. The edge in the combine is one of the most reviewed areas of any NFL team or upcoming draft. That's a player Dan Campbell has a blueprint for. His strengths and toughness seem like Lions material already. So there you go. And again, a lot can change between now and the draft. You understand that. I understand that. Free agency hits, that's going to affect some things. But this kid does have a lot of stuff. He did start last football season at 275 pounds, did slim down to 260. He's going to flex probably somewhere between here and there during his NFL career, just because some teams are going to bulk him up a little bit more. If he can do that while maintaining his speed and his explosion, now you got a real product there. Let me know your thoughts on him, though. Big Gabe's in the house for a potential second or third round pick. Now, you want more information about the Detroit Lions and potentially who they're going to be looking at? Well, don't worry. I've done some homework for you. You guys already know there's conversations about tackle, but there are also some conversations starting to come out of Detroit. Lions might not go for a tackle. They may go for interior offensive line, and I'm not talking about center. Why is that? I'm not exactly a big fan of this, although it's on the menu. Let's be fair. Tate Ratledge could be your center of the future. Now, if Ratledge does indeed get moved to center, Lions going to want another guard. There have been some whispers, I guess you could say, that maybe Miles Frazier could move in there. I still think he's better as a tackle than he is a guard. We'll see what happens with that. However, Detroit has put in some requests already to interview some people that are interior offensive linemen, not specifically centers. They are guards, at least some of them. One of them is Kansas Sam. Boy, I kill his last name too. Hetchett. He's a potential starter for Detroit, and he'd be more of a day 2 prospect. There are some other ones on this list. To be honest, there are some nice guards. When I've started breaking down things, try to get it ready for you guys, not for this episode, but I mean for the upcoming weeks leading into the combine and then the draft, there are some guards I really, really like. And yes, there are some I think that would step in to Detroit and potentially start right away. Detroit already has, in my opinion, 3 very young, good prospects. Ratledge, Frazier, Christian Mahogany. If Detroit does draft one, especially in day 2 or 3, then I think that would be probably a big sign to all of us. One of our current guys is getting moved to either center or tackle. I don't think you're going to overload the work, the depth chart with guys. They're just going to sit around, even though they could be potential starters for it. Pay attention to some of those guys. Though mentioned, again, Kansas State's Sam Hetch is probably number 1 on the list. And yes, they've been talking to him. Already talked about Caden Proctor. I'm not going to waste time talking about some of the other guys a ton. But Caleb Loam and Spencer Fano have already had requests from the Lions representation to have some interviews in the process. And it sounds like those will be filled over time. I think we all get it. If you're a representation, an agent for any of these guys, you understand Detroit is in play for your players, so you want to make sure that you do give the Lions some time to talk to them. All right, as far as edge, we already mentioned one, and apparently the Lions are going to talk to at least 3 other persons of interest. Keldrick Falk from Auburn is another person on the list. So is Miami's Akeem Mesidor, and this makes a lot of sense to me. He's got some personality, or maybe a better way to put it would be off the field topics around him, Mesidor. So I'm not 100% sure the Lions are going to roll the dice on him, but we'll have to wait and see. If he really does well in his interview process, then maybe they do feel comfortable enough taking him in round 2 or something like that. I don't think they would spend a first-round pick on him. Been completely wrong before. And why I say they're going to interview him, and it makes sense. Look even at Jackson Pierre Jr., Paul Jr. last year. We all understand he's had some off-the-field issues this offseason, but the Lions did look into him. And I think they're just doing their due diligence. I don't think his situation is anything like Jackson Pierce Jr.'s situation, but Akeem Mesidor, I think the talent's there. Whether or not you feel like there's enough body of work as a totality to get them, well, this is why you do your investigation if you're the Detroit Lions. Cornerback spots have already been talked about as far as Lions putting in some requests to have interviews. Remember, you're limited how many you have, so you really have to Scooby-Doo them and plan ahead here. But they are apparently going to talk to 2 different cornerbacks and then a couple of safeties. I was not able to ascertain the names for the cornerbacks. I only know that they did put in a request to talk to 2 different people, or they're so we'll have to see. And then safeties. Boy, I know I've thrown some names out during some of my mock drafts. We'll see if any of those, the Toledo kid, boy, I can't remember his name offhand. I do think he'll be a person of interest in Detroit, maybe around 2 or 3. If he should fall to round 3, that would be a big steal. I also think David Styles, if he's there around 17 or even close to 17, I think the Lions are going to be all over him. I don't have any kind of inside information confirming that. I don't have anybody telling me, hey, listen, the Lions are heavy on that. There are no confirmed reports that the Lions have put in kind of requests to talk to him, but it just makes a lot of sense, at least in my eyes, based on what Kelvin Shepard, what Dan Campbell like to do with the defense, especially the back 7.5. I mean, he seems like the most ideal fit in the draft, if you want me to be very, very frank with you. Again, I think it comes down to whether or not you can get him. All right, I've thrown out some names at you guys. The scouting combine is here. It is underway. What do you want to see out of the Detroit Lions when we get through this thing? Do you think there's a real opportunity for the Lions to snag some of these guys? And again, if you're just joining us, it does sound like currently the number one people on the list for Lions consideration are these two gentlemen, and we're going to have to wait and see. We're going to see the Lions probably interview 3 to 4. Maybe that's a little high. How about 2 to 3 left tackles or tackles? I guess they could be right tackles as well. As far as defensive ends, this is where I think the Lions are going to invest more of their interview requests. I won't be surprised if we see equally 2 to 4 interview requests there. Now, you guys all know it's a shell game with the NFL draft. Nobody's trying to show you everything. So I try to do some normalities for you guys. I mean, this is basically what my education's in, is trying to find patterns in people or such. So go back and look at each of Brad Holmes' drafts. Pay attention to the first day requests for, who we're going to interview, and then day 3 and 5. What you're going to find, at least from my eyes, is day 1, they all seem to hit as far as the Lions have legitimate interest. Day 3 and 5, these seem to be the shell game days for Brad Holmes. And again, limited sample size. You only had 5 of these things before. But it does seem like the vast majority of the time, whoever they request on day 3 and 5, these are people the Lions are not targeting. They're trying to lead teams astray. And yes, if you don't know in professional sports, I don't care if it's basketball, volleyball, baseball, NFL, this is not unnormal for teams to do. They're going to do what they can to get the information they really want. Now they're going to try to mislead people. So when we get through the NFL scouting combine, we find out who they interviewed on day 3 and 5, at least as a history test. Over 70% of the time, these have been misnomers. This has been Brad Holmes trying to lead astray other NFL teams. When we get those full lists, let's pay attention and break it down and say, hey, who is he trying to obviously not get, but try to tell other teams these are people of interest or positions of interest for the Detroit Lions? To me, that's one of the more interesting things about the drafting process for any professional franchise is, trying to how you get the information you really need and then mislead everybody else with the information you don't really even care about. All right, Duke, I threw a few things at you. What do you think about these two gentlemen to start? If the Lions were to add both of them, at least in my view, this would be a real nice start to a draft. I think we could all agree they'd have the potential to be starters right away. Again, it's not what I would do. My view is if you want me to just do it, free agency, I'm getting a left tackle, I'm getting a center, I'm moving on from there, unless you feel like somebody already in-house can be your left tackle or right tackle. I guess if you move Penei Sewell over. If you're really going to move Ratledge to center, then I guess center would be Ratledge. Yeah, I guess, I don't know, maybe Miles Frazier would be right guard, and then Chris Mahogany left guard. And then Penei Sewell, one of your tackles, and you add somebody else in the draft or free agency. That is a possibility. Maybe Giovanni Manu's really ready to go. I doubt that, but I guess it's possible. But my number one selection still for the Detroit Lions, as far as flexibility on what you could do defensively from a schematic standpoint, adding to the strength of the team, it's all going to be Styles, just because the range he offers in coverage, the flexibility between linebacker, safety, maybe even to a certain degree, nickel cornerback in a zone system, not in a man-to-man. I don't think he's ready for that, but it would still be my number one draft pick, but they're not asking me. So, all right, Duke, let's get over to you guys, see what you have to say. Let me scroll to the top of the screen, if you would, please. And, during the scouting combine, I'll try to get you guys more and more information on different prospects as they pop up. We're all going to be in the same boat. You're going to be watching 50,000 different channels, reading 29 billion different articles, watching NFL Network or whoever else for the scouting combine, try to get the same information that the pros, the scouts are after. The only thing I can say is I'll give you what, most of you know I've been a pro scout for a while. No, not for the NFL or for football, but universally talking to people in the profession, it doesn't change a whole lot from one sport to the other. You just have to apply what you're seeing differently to your sport versus somebody else's sport. All right, Michael, greetings and salutations, Coach Dan of the Duke Crew, exclamation point, one pride, woo, and back at you, Johnny. Good morning, folks. Good to see you, Johnny. Here's Johnny. Bo Booth, good morning, Duke Crew. I want candy, exclamation point, woo, some good chocolate in the morning along with the Mountain Dew, maybe a little hot sauce too. Johnny, who be these guys? Now you know. Jen, happy Monday, everyone. Exclamation point, back to work and time to catch on up. Enjoy your day at work. Rob Hawk, good morning, everyone. I get to sit at home and watch for a while today. Yeehaw! Exclamation point. Well, hopefully you have a great time watching the show. Conan, hey, Coach and crew. Can we find some middle late round gems again this draft? To be fair, Lions under Brad Holmes are one of the best teams. I don't have it in front of me, but I want to say the number 3 team in the NFL over his tenure at finding starters in rounds. I think it's deemed 3 through 7. So while we take our shots at Brad Holmes at times, he doesn't hit on every pick. He is one of the best drafting GMs in the NFL. He's in the top 25%. And obviously, as I just mentioned, in the final, whatever it is, 4 rounds, there's only 2 teams better in the half decade than him. Johnny, hey, Conan, if anybody can do it, it would be Brad Holmes. I like the way you're thinking. Trey, what's good, everybody? Question mark. Now things will start picking up and getting interesting this offseason. You're not wrong. Your scouting combine's here. You're 2 weeks away or whatever it is away from free agency. The draft's about a month behind that, roughly. So, yes, things will start picking up exponentially. Johnny L., I sure hope so. Trey, Tom, good morning, Duke Crew. Woo! Lions, hey, let's go Lions. And good morning, Tom. Dawn, the draft and free agency could really make this team elite next season. I don't believe we need a lot of help. I don't either. I think, I've summarized between my thoughts on the draft free agency. Doesn't have to be your thoughts. If the Lions can add 5 impact players, probably 2 on offensive line, 3 to the defense, yes, I think this team could be top 10 offensively and defensively. Orlando Mauer, so sad. Yeah, I did see that news yesterday, or heard the news. I was driving back from Detroit to list a Duke Crew member's property, and yes, I did hear the news. Sorry to hear about that. Thoughts for his family and friends. Johnny, yeah. Now Dean, seen he passed away, just 25 years old. Do they know what happened to him? I don't know. I didn't. At least when listening to the radio, I don't think they had that. Dan, did you say your anniversary was February 20th? My wife and I celebrated 44 years then. Yes, it was. And wife and I had a good time. Curtis, what do you got? I'm not first. It happens, my friend. Johnny, he's got my prayers. His family does. Correct with that. Marshawn, Dean Jackson, I heard suicide. Ooh, sorry to hear that, man. I did not know that part. Thank you, though. All right, Jess, greetings, salutations, Duker. Congrats, Tom and Coach Dan. I agree with Coach regarding our needs to get bigger, faster, and stronger this offseason. Hey, to me, if you can do that, you solve a lot of problems just from a mass standpoint and a stop clock standpoint. You got to have the right mentalities. There are a lot of talented players out there that just don't work hard or aren't coachable or, however you want to say it. I think the Lions try to avoid those like the plague. Curtis sending prayers. Well said. Jess, few of us are, Curtis. That might be accurate. Hoogadoo, good morning, Duke Crew One Pride. I want a Super Bowl, so let's get the ones that will get us there. Exclamation point. Oh, yeah. Well, to me, first things first with any NFL team, you build up the lines. If you can fix the offensive line and the defensive line, you've done a big part in making all those other slices around you much, much better. We'll see how they do it. Tom, how about the U.S. hockey team? Question mark. A lot of some of those boys came from right around Detroit. Yeah, there are a few Michigan-based players. And to your point, man, another miracle on ice. I know they're already calling it that. Here's what I can say, man. Talking to everybody while I was driving to Detroit, so like the Sarge, Tony, Libretto, and some other friends, man, they're all out about at 8 a.m. on a Sunday cheering on the team. And hey, congrats to the Team USA. They phenomenal run. But to be fair, congrats to Team Canada, too. It's hard to really say anybody had a bad Olympics, although the Canadian team probably feels that way for losing. But, man, what a run by both teams. Johnny is looking for a thumbs up. Henry Moore, good morning, Coach Dan of the Duke Crew. What a team. What podcast. Exclamation point. What a time to be a Lions fan. Woo! And, hey, always glad to have you on the show there, Henry Moore Sr. George, who are the players in the photo? Now you know. Marsha, congrats on getting golds. Hey, they did that. Both teams, male and female. Same old soup, just reheated. Good morning, Coach Dan of the Duke Crew. Like number 9. Thank you very much for that. Hookadoo. Good morning, Henry, Johnny, Jen, Rob, Marsha, all the above. Johnny, I'm living proof it's still flu season. Sorry to hear that, man. Hope you're feeling better. Drake, March 11th, here we come. Exclamation point, right around the corner. Henry Moore, good morning, Jen, Johnny, Marsha, and my man of grit, Hookadoo, Moosecar Blade. Ladies and gentlemen, the Duke Crew is in the house. Yes, they are, and good day to you, my friend, from the town so nice they named it twice. Johnny, I wonder if we're going to have 5 headlines today. Not today, maybe tomorrow. Marsha, good morning to you all, and what a great day. It's always a great day to hang out with the crew. Hookadoo, good morning. France, realistically, in your opinion, I see us trading back in round 1. I I've said this since the moment we secured the 17th pick. Lions are probably one of the teams in the most ideal position to trade up or back in the NFL. I just think, you're not going to get into the top 10 unless you egregiously overpay. Take those guys off. But if you want to get up to number 12 or 13, I think it's very achievable. You want to trade back and still get a player you really coveted at 20, 22, 23. I think you have that opportunity, and you can pick up some draft capital. All right, whatever I'm going to say. Rob Hawk, good morning, Hookadoo. Exclamation point. Jen, good morning, Hookadoo. Henry, Johnny L, Moonscar Blade, Hookadoo, good morning, Moonscar. Moonscar, Hookadoo, exclamation point, and Jen. Johnny, good morning to everyone. Dave, hey, France, Drake, Conan, Jess, Duke Crew, all of the above. Five Fingers, Brad wins this spring, or he's gone. Exclamation point. I do think he's under some heat this year. Him and Dan Campbell. I know they're favorite sons to Detroit Lions. I also think it's professional sports. And if I'm investing over $1 billion into players and we're not getting a return on that investment, I think that puts a slippery slope in front of both guys. And I know I mentioned before, just because one of my jobs is, being a day trader, the Ford Motor Company just lost almost $12 billion. I'm guessing the Fords want some return on investment from the Detroit Lions then. Johnny L., you got that right. Five Fingers. Eddie Moore Sr., in my opinion, if anyone who is half my age, it is a very sad state of affairs. All right. Let's see. Jess, good morning. Exclamation point. Hookadoo. Him and MCDC's butts, I think, are on the hot seat. I would agree. I think it's fairly warm. I mean, maybe not flamethrower hot, but I would say, yeah, they're under some scrutiny. Anyone that's at my age passes away, it's a sad state of affairs. Okay, now I know where you're going with that. And thank you for that, Henry Moore Sr. Let's see. Queen Merritt, good morning, Duke Crew. Back at you. Hookadoo. Morning, my queen. Johnny here. Good morning, Queen Mary. Good morning, Mary, says Jen. Pat, hit some buttons, folks. Thank you for saying that. Yeah, hit the like, hit the subscribe. Vincent, good morning, Coach Dan, the Duke Crew. Woo! Exclamation points. Back at you. Coach Rock, good morning, Duke Crew. I'm done shoveling. Hey, congrats, I guess. Any more? Good morning, Queen Mary. A blessed day to you, Coach Rock. Good grit morning, Mary and Hookadoo. Queen Mary, good morning, Jen, Johnny, Hookadoo, and Henry. Tori Apple. In about 2 weeks, things really begin to pick up and get interesting. Yes, because, obviously what we do in free agency is going to be probably a bit of a tell to what we're going to do potentially in the draft. Hookadoo, good morning, Rock. I was starting to wonder about you. Haven't seen you in here the last few days. Yeah, maybe just been busy with Coach Rock. I don't know. We'll find out. Johnny, and I've been sitting here drooling, waiting for that exact moment, Tori, for as far as the offseason. Yeah, I think we're all waiting for the NFL draft and free agency to hit. I guess it'd be free agency in the draft, but you get my gist. All right, Vincent, Tori Apple, 100%. Let's see, Johnny, Tori. All right. Queen Mary, good morning, Rock. Coach Rock, good morning, Johnny. Eric, hey, talking about somebody we haven't seen, a hot site. Good morning, Dan and Duke Crew. Back at you, my friend. JK, Marshall was put asleep finally. Sorry to hear that. Phil, greetings, salutations. Back at you. Johnny, good morning, Rock. Hookadoo, great mornings, Joseph C. Coach Rock, good God morning, Phil. How's the guitar business? We'll find out. As congratulations, Team USA Hockey and 8 players who have connections to Michigan. Yeah, quite a few of the team are from around this area. Johnny, peace out to you on the flip side. Showtime. It is showtime. I hope we'll chat with you tomorrow, Johnny. Morning, good morning, Coach Dan and the Mighty Duke Crew. Back at you. Gary, morning, everyone. Byron Thomas, morning, Dan and Duke Crew. Always a pleasure to have you on the show, my friend. Any more? All right, 73 waiting and only 29 thumbs up. Come on, hit that like button. Yeah, if you guys can, hit the like, subscribe, all that stuff. Coach Rock, I just finished shoveling yesterday and rushed in to get on, and Coach Dan had a quick show. We did have a quick show yesterday. David Green, Sanitations, Coach and Duke Crew. Woo! Back at you. Lauren, looking mighty chipper this morning. Hey, try to be that way. Let's see. Hookadoo. Howdy do, Carrie and Lauren. Keith, though, run the like button up for Coach. Yes, if you guys can. Yeah, like I said, hit the like and subscribe. As Lions Talk lead off sports show on YouTube and Crunch Time close. All right. Hey, well, thanks for that. I know they do a great job. There's a ton of great podcasters out there. They all deserve their flowers, man. They put in some work. So I try to support all the other content creators as best I can, right? All right, Coach Rock, congrats to Dylan Larkin on bringing that grit back to the Wings. Woo! All right, good to see. Queen Mary, good morning, Carrie, Lauren. Lighting Days, what do you got? Good morning, Coach Dan and the Duke crew. Exclamation point. Haven't made a live show in a while. Thanks for all you do, Dan. You are appreciated. Hey, I appreciate you appreciating. How about that? As I am glad I live in Texas and don't miss cold and snow. Don't miss cold and snow it either. Yeah, I know the wife is not a fan of it either. Byron Thomas, 132 people watching and only 46 likes. Smash the like button, y'all. Thank you for saying that. Eddie, good morning, my Lions fans. Friends, I turned 56 today. Happy birthday, my friend. And just for you, for your birthday, let's give you a proper 1, 2, and a 3. How about a Sheila? Happy birthday, Eddie. Hugadoo, go Wings, Rocky. My dad played hockey for MSU. I didn't know that. Queen Mary, yeah, I was looking for him at the Combine. Gary, morning, Hugadoo. Daz, JMO, Gibbs, Branch, Bama. Yes, indeed. Some Alabama Times. Fruit League, good morning, Dooku. Back at you. As Hugadoo, did your dad say Adrian? We'll find out. Hugadoo, well, happy birthday, Eddie. It's Hugadoo, my mistake. It happens, man. Adrian, says Don Con, with some exclamation points. Queen Mary, happy birthday, Big. All right, cut me, Mick. There you go, Hugadoo. Queen Mary, happy birthday, Eddie. Marsha, sending smoke signals. Detroit Lions are winning the Super Bowl 2027. I like the way you're foretelling the future. As Hugadoo, Silver Server, good morning, Coach and all Lions fans. And back at you. 13 more sleeps until free agency starts, says Donkey Kong. Brad is on the hot seat. His last 2 drafts are filled with busts. Recent free agent acquisitions have not been great. Roster is in shambles. Exclamation point. Let's see if he can right the ship then. Eddie, I would like to see the Lions go after needs in this year's draft. I think so. Queen Mary, good morning, Silver. Hugadoo, morning, Silver Server. JK, Skip should really swarm Manu to left tackle position. Maybe he will be. I mean, hopefully Manu pans out, right? That would be best for the Lions. But if they don't add him or they add a left tackle in the draft, that's probably a sign that they don't feel like Giovanni Manu II is ready. All right, any more? Like that, Marshawn. Don't forget the Sarge. No, don't forget indeed. Professor Castillo. Hey, man, talk about somebody we haven't seen in a hot second. What up, Duke crew? What's up, Man of Steel? Hopefully you're feeling much better. Phil, who are the players that could be draft day trades for draft picks? Man, that's a good question. I don't really think the Lions are going to unload any of their own guys. Been completely wrong before. The other part is I don't think unless you're going to trade one of your marquee guys, I don't think you're getting much return to be late round picks if you're going to trade them. I mean, if you were to trade Aiden Hutchinson or something like that, or, Jack Campbell or, man, I don't know, St. Brown, you'd probably get significant returns, but I don't think they're going to unload those guys. Duncan, Eddie Hiller, or at least acknowledge needs in the draft, like consider it for sake. There you go. Silver Silver, and good morning, Mary Smith, exclamation point, Marsha and Hugadoo. Everybody on the list. Henry Moore Sr., good morning, Professor Steele. Henry Moore is okay, says Marsha. Phil, with 0 third-round picks, how do the Lions get those players in the 3rd round other than trading? Yeah, they probably just, if they don't get 3rd-round picks, they'll probably just skip the 3rd round. Everybody sit back, enjoy a Mountain Dew, and watch the draft, I guess. JK, need to stop being a prospect. What's okay? Silver, and good morning, JK, Henry Moore, Johnny L, and Kerry. Eddie, what is the status on Kirby Joseph? Nobody really knows yet. So it sounds like he's getting better, but until we get to a training camp and everything, nobody's really going to know. We get to training camp. If he's sitting on the sidelines, that probably tells you a whole lot about his knee going forward for the rest of his career. Green Mary, good morning, Professor Steele. Nice to see you here this morning. Been missing your presence. I'd say that's accurate. Let's see, Professor. I've been teaching middle school and teaching college as well. I got sick on vacation. I'll be back soon. Hey, welcome back. Hopefully the Mountain Dew helps cure all. At least that's what I tell people. Phil, paw. Hey, nothing wrong with having a paw. Phil, such a nice place. They named it twice. That is correct. If you're talking about Paw Paw, Michigan. Silver, good morning to Professor Steele and Coach Rock. I concur. Professor Steele, what up, though, at Silver Server? Hugadoo. Hugadoo, that's great. My wife went to MSU, gave him a woo when I told her. All right. Who's Garblade? Dang Dan, don't give away Brand Home secrets. You never know who's listening. Hey, if I can figure it out, I would assume a professional team with gajillions of dollars to spend on analyzing a real team, they could probably figure out some normalities too. But I get your point, Blitzcar. Queen Mary, Coach, I really been watching Proctor. He would be a nice addition. I think so too. He would be. It's just, my preference, Mary, is probably not the Detroit Lions. I would add a free agent in free agency to the left tackle and the center spot, and then I would spend everything on the defense. That's what I would do. But if they end up going for Proctor in round 1 or somebody similar, I wouldn't blame them. I mean, there's some great talents there. All right, JK, Grape Jakes, what a name. There you go. Let's see, Gabe, I think you mean there, JK Gabe. Yes. Hookadoo. That's things about your vacation. My grandmother and uncle were both teachers, Kurt. Hey, how about that? The wife is a teacher. JK, Gabe. Yeah, I knew we were going with that, or at least I figured it out. Duncan, we need to raid the Mac lineman. See if we can. Coach Rock, Kurt, my son's a high school math teacher. Must take after him, his mom. Must take after his mom, indeed. Thomas, help Dan out. Slap the like, y'all. Exclamation point with a thumbs up. All right, see, Hookadoo Rock. My uncle was also Elton Rapids, Michigan. He taught high school math. Nothing wrong with that. Duncan, basics like tackling drills, maybe in camp. Okay, Professor Kurt Steele, Coach Rock. Laughing out loud, my cousin is the only other teacher in my family. Silver Server, Mary Proctor, such a specimen. I hear moves so well. Is a big man. Yeah, he's massive, for those who don't know. Mary, I got the like in the Nigerian right tackle from Arizona State. 6'6", 330 pounds, knew the sport with an attitude. Yeah, I want to say he's been playing for like 5 years or something like that, and he's done quite well. Duncan, we need 3 linemen for the season from somewhere on the O? Yeah, maybe we do. I think we need 2. I think we need a tackle, whether it's right or left, and then a center. But maybe you could go with 3 for sure. Thomas, if we really want to be dangerous, fix the D. Exclamation point. We have the O figured out. It's the D. Fair enough. Hookadoo, I know the goalie from around the Detroit versus. All right, yeah, and the fact that the USA hockey goalie had like 40 or 50 saves, I mean, that's, you want to talk about defense winning, that right there. Johnny Gas Sports. Good morning, Dan the Duke Crew. Exclamation point. Have a great Monday. Back at you, Duncan. Or win. That was great hockey B game with the Canadians. Yes, it was a great game. Queen Mary, good Johnny Gaz. Brent, USA. How about that? Johnny Gaz, morning Mary. Thomas, USA Hockey, exclamation point. Great win, but nowhere near the 1980s. Why? USA in 1980s were all college kids versus Russian pros that were happening in. Yes, I get your point there. Lauren, will there be a ball up today, Kurt? We'll find out. Duncan, do not need projects. We need healthy players who can adapt. I'll go with that. Thomas, Brand, exclamation point. If the right trade option pops up, trade back for more top 100 picks. Yeah, I think they will at least look at that, answer phone calls. And if it makes sense for the Detroit Lions, I'm sure they'll go for it. Taylor made great point on Lions ROI this season. Yeah, I think you've got to hit it this year. If you do, this team could be really, really good. If you don't, you set them back a bit. But good to see you, Taylor made. Coach Rock, let's see. Hex buyback was commence Hookadoo. All right, we'll find out. Gaveston, Thomas, I agreed. Not sure there are many blue chip players in this draft. To your point, and I haven't done the most paperwork ever on it that I haven't maybe the past. I will continue to study it more and more. I really think there's 12, blue chip players or obvious first round grades. Now, maybe you find a few more as the draft process unveils itself. But I want to say last year, the consensus was there was like 15 to 18 guys. And this year, I want to say there's going to be like 10 to 12, somewhere in that range. So to your point, maybe trading back doesn't really hurt you so much if somebody falls in love with someone. All right, Thomas, look, last year we had 2 games where we kick field goals, we win. At minimum, 1 game stolen by the refs. I'll go with that. Reese Cup, what do you got? Anyone notice the lines for teams totals came out and every team was on there except the Lions? How about that? I'll have to pay attention to that, but thank you for pointing that out. Thank you very much, Reese. All right, Lauren, how long does one order of peptides last from Jen Savage Fitness? She would have to answer. I just don't know enough about it. So she just said something. What was that? 1 month, she said. So, hey, she's always listening. She's like the feds. Okay, that's why I said, Rock, I was watching the game and there was showing his hometown. Yes, Thomas, in the draft, I just don't see any superstars to throw picks at to move up. Exclamation point. Me, I gave away my top 100 picks as possible. I've offered my thoughts to you guys already. I'm not going to keep talking about it, but I think Styles is one that's achievable, but again, it's more for schematic purposes. I think he adds a ton of flexibility to every defense. Duncan, hey, let's grab the first rounder and then trade them to some mid-team for their center. Maybe that's what they'll do. Coach Rock, the 4 players on the ice when the winning goal was scored all had Michigan connection. Woo! The Michigan grit. Nothing wrong with that. Keith, though, I wouldn't mind moving back if we can pick up a 3rd-round pick. Maybe that's what we will. Duncan, 80 likes. Thank you very much. If you guys can, hit the like, subscribe. Amy, good morning. Dan and our grit-loving Duke crew. Exclamation. Good morning, Queen Mary, Henry, Johnny, Tori Apple, Silver, Hookadoo, and happy belated birthday, Eddie. Gavison, that's my strategy too. Gather top 100 picks. Trade your 5, 6, and 7s away. Maybe they will. Let's see. Lauren, 86 likes. Thomas, still gobsmacked at the lack of Goff in the top 100 players. With his numbers proven, he's a top 6 quarterback. With the 30th worst pass blocking line. Yeah, I thought he put up very good numbers, especially when you consider the line he was playing behind this year. Hookadoo, let's see. Great things coming out of Michigan. Rock! Exclamation point. Orlando, man, somebody we haven't seen in a minute. Good morning, Coach Daniel Duke crew. My house changes, so I have to punch now. Y'all have be blessed, and may the dew be with you, and also with you, with an exclamation point. Tripsy Gypsy, another person I haven't seen in a hot second. Coach Rock, as was Megan Keller from the ladies. That wasn't U.S. versus Canada in hockey. It was Michigan versus Canada. Ooh, how about that? Hey, thanks for that inside information. Duncan, sorry to hear you are sick. Get some rest and hydrate. Yes, indeed. Thomas, players that must really show something this year. Baki, Manu, Frazier. All the 3. Frazier just may be a starter before the year's out. Yeah, and he's going to year 2 with the other guys year 3. I think it's a big year for him. As Northeast looks like a winter wonderland, like Philadelphia area. Yeah, my kid lives out in New York, and I've heard from her mother that they're getting hammered. Duncan, haha. All right, we're laughing. Arizona man, nothing wrong with that. Duncan, Amy, good morning, Professor Steele. I got my buttons pushed in. Everyone, please join me. Will do. Thomas, me, I would trade a 1st-round pick for a late 2nd and 3rd. Why? I just do not see any standouts. Trade back, pick up an additional 100. All right. David, have a great day, everyone. Thumbs up, USA, the thrill of victory and the agony of defeat. You're not wrong there. Lauren, gonna get an order in this week? Yeah, if you need more information, just let me know. You can talk to the wife or something. I mean, she can walk you through it all, man. It's not my forte. Amy, what do you got? Coach Dan, don't get yourself in trouble with the wife. I try to avoid that, man. Duncan, we had the winner schedule, both Super Bowl teams, and went 9-8. We had the winner schedule. We did. This year we have the schedule for a 9-8 team. Suckers, we're still good. I think we will be pretty good. Peptides must help you keep hearing. JK, I would agree. Dennis, good morning. Dan the Mighty Duke crew. Haven't caught a live show in a couple of days. Had to watch later. Miss y'all. Hey, miss you too. Glad you're back. Hopefully having a great day. Let's see. Release the Epstein files. Not on this show. Let's see. Duncan, a foot of snow in Jersey. Yeah, how about that, man? Curtis, do you do IRRL? We'll find out. We'll find out indeed. Duncan, or excuse me, Hookadoo. Happy trails, Duke crew. One pride worldwide. Enjoy. All right, guys, I'm going to go ahead and get out of here. If there is breaking news later today, I'll get over to you as soon as possible. Hey, let's face it, we're getting closer and closer to really the crux of the off season, and that would be free agency hitting, the draft. You know, you're going to have more and more information coming out, whether it's from this channel or some other channel regarding the scouting combine and all that stuff. So keep your notifications on. Hey, if you would be so kind before departing, hit the thumbs up button, hit the like button, hit all the buttons. Take care. Enjoy the rest of your day. Do something kind for some of you don't know. Be a good human being, and we'll see you guys all in the next Lions Talk Live. Take care, everybody.
Bye.